Hello everyone, welcome to class series, and in this video we're gonna be discussing our question answers of our chapter the three questions. So we're gonna be discussing our main of share your responses. In that our first submain is share your responses number 1, and in that our first question is what thought came to the king. The answer of this question is the thought came to the king that he would never fail if he knew three things. These three things were: number 1, what is the most important time to begin something? Number 2, who should a king consider the most important? Number 3, what is the most important thing for a king to do? Our second question is write the three questions for which the king wanted to have answers. The answer of this question is the three questions for which the king wanted to have answers were: number 1, what is the right time to begin something? 2, who should a king consider the most important? 3, what is the most important thing for a king to do? Our third question is, was the king satisfied with the answers? If yes, why? If no, why? The answer of this question is no, the king was not satisfied with the answers because they were different in opinions of the wise man. Our fourth question is, who did the king decide to seek advice from? The answer of this question is the king decided to seek advice from a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. Our second submain is share your responses number 2. In that our first question is how did the king treat the wounded person? The answer of this question is the king and the hermit removed the wounded man's clothing and found a large wound in his stomach. The king washed and covered it with his handkerchief, but the blood would not stop flowing. The king redressed the wound until the bleeding stopped. Thus, the king treated the wounded man. Our second question is why did the bearded man swear revenge on the king? The answer of this question is the bearded man swore revenge on the king because the king put his brother to death and seized his property. Our third question is who had wounded the man and why? The answer of this question is the bodyguard of the king had wounded the man. He had made up his mind to kill the king on his way home, but king's bodyguard has recognized and wounded him because he was the enemy of the king. Our fourth question is why did the man say that he would serve the king as his most faithful servant? The answer of this question is the bodyguard of the king wounded the man. The wounded man escaped from him. He would have died if the king had not dressed his wounds. He had wished to kill the king, but the king saved his life. Therefore, the man said that he would serve the king as his most faithful servant. Our next submain is share your responses number 3. In that our first question is what did the king promise the man? The answer of this question is the king promised to give back the man his property. Our second question is the hermit said that the king had been answered. If you agree, what was the answer to the first question? The answer of this question is the hermit said that the king had been answered. We agree with this point. The first question of the king was what is the right time to begin something? If the king had not pitied to hermit's weakness and had not dug those beds for him, he would have gone away. Then that man, bearded one, would have attacked. So the most important time was when the king was digging in. Another incident, the most important time was when he was caring for the wounded man. Our third question is why did the hermit say that he was the most important man? The answer of this question is king took pity on hermit and spent a whole day with him in digging the beds. If he had not dug those beds for him, he would have gone away. Then the enemy of the king would have killed him. The king later saved his life. The most important person is the person that we are with any particular moment. So hermit said that he was the most important man. Our fourth question is, according to the hermit, how is the most important time? Why? The answer of this question is According to the hermit, now is the most important time because there is only one time that is the most important. The digging of the beds by the king was only time that was the most important because it saved him from the bearded man's attack. Secondly, the king's carrying the wound of the bearded man was the only time that was the most important because his caring saved the life of the bearded man. Our fifth question is, what according to the hermit was the most important business? The answer of this question is, according to the hermit, the most important business was the king's digging the beds for the hermit and caring the wound of the bearded man. These are considered as the most important business to do good for that person.